History's pages are filled with ordinary individuals who achieved extraordinary fame only after they were gone. These everyday people lived unremarkable lives, yet their legacies grew to mythic proportions following their deaths. Some were rejected by society, others toiled in obscurity, but all share one common thread: they became cultural icons long after they could witness their own legendary status. Struggling with poverty and mental illness, Van Gogh sold just one painting during his lifetime. His brother Theo supported him financially while he created over 2,000 artworks in just a decade. After his suicide in 1890, Theo's widow championed his work, but recognition came slowly. By the mid-20th century, his vibrant paintings commanded millions at auction. Today, works like Starry Night and Sunflowers are instantly recognizable worldwide. Museums dedicated to his legacy attract millions of visitors annually, transforming a once rejected painter into perhaps the most beloved artist in history. Hidden away in her Amherst home, Emily Dickinson crafted nearly 1,800 poems while leading an intensely private life. Only 10 of her works were published during her lifetime, all anonymously and heavily edited to fit conventional styles. Her sister Lavinia discovered hundreds of poems neatly bound in small packets after Emily's death in 1886. The first collection appeared in 1890, though editors still altered her unconventional punctuation and structure. Not until the 1950s did readers experience Dickinson's true voice with her distinctive dashes and capitalization intact. Now recognized as one of America's greatest poetic voices, her work speaks powerfully across centuries. Working as an insurance clerk by day, Kafka wrote strange, nightmarish stories by night. His haunting tales of alienation and bureaucratic absurdity remained largely unpublished while he lived. On his deathbed in 1924, he instructed his friend Max Brod to burn all his manuscripts. Brod famously betrayed this wish, publishing Kafka's novels The Trial, The Castle, and America to growing acclaim. The term Kafkaesque entered our vocabulary to describe the bewildering, surreal situations his characters faced. His prophetic vision of modern alienation resonated deeply after World War II, transforming an obscure Czech writer into one of literature's most influential voices. Born during a lightning storm, Tesla seemed destined for electrical brilliance. He invented alternating current, wireless technology, and envisioned smartphones a century before their creation, yet died penniless in a New York hotel room in 1943. Thomas Edison, his rival, received credit for many innovations while Tesla's contributions faded into obscurity. The FBI seized his papers immediately after his death, fueling decades of conspiracy theories. A grassroots revival began in the 1990s as internet communities rediscovered his visionary ideas. Today, his name graces the world's leading electric car company, and his status as history's most underappreciated genius has finally been secured. A spirited teenager with dreams of becoming a writer, Anne received a checkered diary for her 13th birthday. For 2 years, while hiding from Nazi persecution in an Amsterdam attic, she filled its pages with observations both profound and ordinary. Betrayed and captured in 1944, Anne died of typhus at Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. Her father Otto, the family's sole survivor, found her diary after the war. The Diary of a Young Girl has since been translated into over 70 languages. Anne's words, "I still believe people are really good at heart," stand as a testament to hope amid humanity's darkest chapter, making her the Holocaust's most recognizable individual voice. Tending his pea plants in an Augustinian monastery garden, Mendel meticulously tracked how traits passed between generations. His groundbreaking 1866 paper explaining dominant and recessive inheritance patterns was read by exactly no one who understood its significance. The humble monk died in 1884, believing his life's work had been in vain. 16 years later, 3 separate botanists independently rediscovered his research and were astonished by its precision. Modern genetics, from DNA sequencing to genetic engineering, stems directly from principles Mendel uncovered with simple gardening tools. His monastery room now stands as a museum honoring the unassuming man who laid the foundation for understanding how all life passes information between generations. Subsisting on canned beans and living with his aunts, Lovecraft published in cheap pulp magazines that paid pennies per word. His tales of ancient cosmic entities and forbidden knowledge found few readers during the Great Depression. When he died of intestinal cancer in 1937, his literary estate was valued at just $500. Fellow writer August Derleth founded Arkham House Publishing specifically to preserve Lovecraft stories, beginning his slow rise from obscurity. By the 21st century, his tentacled creations had permeated popular culture. From blockbuster movies to board games, Lovecraft's vision of humanity's cosmic insignificance continues to terrify new generations, despite the once unknown author having no idea of the cultural behemoth his imagination would spawn. Found delirious on Baltimore streets wearing someone else's clothes, Poe died 4 days later without explaining what happened. This mysterious end befitted a writer whose tales explored the darker corners of human psychology. Despite pioneering detective fiction and psychological horror, Poe struggled financially his entire life. His literary rival Rufus Griswold wrote a slanderous obituary, portraying him as a drug-addicted madman. French poet Charles Baudelaire later championed Poe's genius, translating his works and sparking international recognition. Today, his Raven's cry of "Nevermore" echoes through literature, film, and music, while the mystery surrounding his death remains unsolved, a final gift to the genre he created. An illiterate farmer's daughter claimed divine voices instructed her to lead France's army against English invaders. Remarkably, the desperate French king gave the 17-year-old command of his troops in 1429. After unexpected military victories, Joan was captured, tried for heresy, and burned at the stake in 1431. The teenage warrior died believing herself abandoned by the king she had crowned. 25 years later, a retrial cleared her name, beginning centuries of growing veneration. Canonized as a saint in 1920, Joan appears on French currency, in countless artworks, and as a feminist icon. The humble peasant girl transformed into France's greatest national symbol, a metamorphosis she never lived to witness. Wandering barefoot through Athens' marketplace, Socrates questioned everyone from politicians to potters about justice, virtue, and knowledge. His method of inquiry, now called Socratic questioning, irritated powerful people who eventually charged him with corrupting youth. Rather than flee his death sentence, he willingly drank hemlock poison in 399 BCE. Having never written down his ideas, Socrates might have vanished from history entirely. His student Plato immortalized him in dialogues that form the cornerstone of Western philosophy. For 2,400 years, his examined life has inspired thinkers worldwide. The humble stonecutter who claimed to know nothing has influenced more human thought than perhaps any other individual, despite never recording a single word himself. Trained as a surgeon, Keats abandoned medicine for poetry, publishing his first collection to scathing reviews. Critics mocked his lower-class background, calling his work driveling idiocy, and dismissing him as a Cockney poet. Tuberculosis claimed him at just 25 in 1821. His tombstone, chosen by himself, bears no name, only the bitter epitaph, "Here lies one whose name was writ in water." Victorian readers rediscovered his sensuous, imaginative verses decades later. Now considered among English literature's greatest voices, Keats' masterpieces like Ode to a Nightingale appear in every poetry anthology. The young man who died believing himself a failure achieved the poetic immortality he desperately craved, though far too late to know it. Born illegitimate in rural poverty, Eva Duarte climbed from small-time actress to Argentina's most powerful woman. As wife of President Juan Perón, she championed workers' rights and women's suffrage, distributing food and medicine directly to the poor. Cancer took her at 33 in 1952, triggering unprecedented national mourning. Her embalmed body became a political prize, stolen and hidden in Italy for 16 years before being returned to Argentina. The musical Evita introduced her story globally in the 1970s. Though controversial in life, adored by the poor, despised by the elite, death transformed her into a secular saint. Don't Cry for Me, Argentina became not just a song lyric but the enduring message of a woman now woven into her nation's identity. A single unidentified body, chosen at random from thousands of war dead, lies in a marble tomb guarded around the clock. This ceremonial burial practice began after World War I left countless soldiers unidentifiable. The first unknown soldier tombs appeared simultaneously in Britain and France in 1920. The United States followed in 1921, with similar memorials now standing in dozens of countries worldwide. Though representing just one fallen warrior, these monuments transform anonymous individuals into universal symbols of sacrifice. Millions visit these tombs annually to honor not just the unknown dead but all who perished in conflict. No names adorn these graves, yet they've become among the most revered memorials on earth. A tobacco farmer and mother of 5, Lax sought treatment for cervical cancer at Johns Hopkins in 1951. Without her knowledge or consent, doctors took samples of her uniquely aggressive cancer cells for research. While Lax died at 31, her cells, dubbed HeLa, continued multiplying in labs worldwide. These immortal cells helped develop polio vaccines, cancer treatments, and countless medical breakthroughs, becoming the foundation of a multi-billion-dollar biomedical industry. Her family learned of this unauthorized use decades later through journalist Rebecca Skloot's best-selling book. Though Lax died in obscurity and was buried in an unmarked grave, her cells have saved millions of lives. NASA even sent her cells to space, making her the first black woman to have her DNA orbit Earth. A brilliant mathematician who cracked Nazi Germany's unbreakable Enigma code, Turing helped shorten World War II by years. His theoretical Turing machine laid the foundation for all modern computers. In 1952, he was convicted of gross indecency for being gay. Given a choice between prison or chemical castration, he chose the latter. 2 years later, he died from cyanide poisoning at 41, officially ruled suicide. Decades passed before his classified wartime achievements became public. Queen Elizabeth II granted him a posthumous pardon in 2013, and his face now appears on the £50 note. The man once persecuted by his government has become a symbol of both technological innovation and LGBTQ+ rights. Forced to his knees before the Inquisition in 1633, Galileo publicly renounced his discovery that Earth orbits the Sun. Legend claims he muttered, "Eppur si muove," and yet it moves. After his recantation, sentenced to house arrest for the remainder of his life, he continued scientific work in secret. The Catholic Church banned his writings for over 200 years after his death in 1642. Pope John Paul II finally acknowledged the Church's error in 1992, formally vindicating Galileo 350 years after his death. His telescopic observations of Jupiter's moons, Venus's phases, and Saturn's rings revolutionized our understanding of the cosmos. The once condemned heretic now stands as the father of modern observational astronomy. Bedridden for months after a bus accident shattered her spine and pelvis, teenage Frida began painting self-portraits using a mirror above her bed. Physical agony would be her lifelong companion, requiring 30 surgeries and eventually a leg amputation. Though respected in artistic circles during her lifetime, Kahlo lived in the shadow of her husband, muralist Diego Rivera. Her deeply personal works exploring identity, gender, and suffering found limited commercial success before her death in 1954. The feminist movement rediscovered Kahlo in the 1970s, transforming her into a global icon. Her distinctive unibrow and flower-crowned image now adorns everything from socks to tequila bottles, while her paintings command upwards of $30 million at auction. At the height of his fame as London's wittiest playwright, Wilde sued his lover's father for calling him a sodomite. The disastrous trial backfired, leading to Wilde's own conviction for gross indecency in 1895. Released from prison broken and bankrupt, he fled to Paris, dying penniless at 46. His grave remained largely unvisited for decades, his works pulled from bookstore shelves. A gradual rehabilitation began in the 1960s when changing attitudes toward homosexuality allowed reassessment of his genius. Today, his epigrams are quoted everywhere, his plays constantly performed, and his tomb in Père Lachaise Cemetery covered in lipstick kisses from admirers. The man once forced to walk handcuffed through London Station amid jeering crowds has become literature's beloved rebel. Severe deformities forced Merrick into Victorian freak shows where he was displayed as the Elephant Man. Surgeon Frederick Treves discovered him being exhibited in a shop across from London Hospital in 1884. When authorities banned such exhibitions, Merrick lost his livelihood and faced starvation. Treves arranged permanent residence for him at London Hospital, where he lived his final 4 years in relative peace, revealing himself as gentle, intelligent, and creative. His death at 27 in 1890 might have ended his story, but Treves' memoirs decades later sparked renewed interest. Bernard Pomerantz's play and David Lynch's film transformed Merrick into a powerful symbol of human dignity amid suffering. His skeleton remains at London's Royal London Hospital Museum, still teaching compassion to new generations. A bespectacled 22-year-old from Lubbock, Texas revolutionized rock music in just 18 months of commercial success. Holly pioneered using the studio as an instrument and wrote songs combining country, R&B, and pop that set the template for countless bands to follow. His 1959 death in a small plane crash alongside Ritchie Valens and J.P. Richardson, the Big Bopper, became known as the day the music died. Don McLean's song, American Pie, later immortalized this tragic moment. Holly never lived to see his profound influence on the Beatles, who named themselves partly in tribute to his band The Crickets, the Rolling Stones, and virtually every rock group since. His distinctive hiccuping vocal style and innovative songwriting continue inspiring musicians over 6 decades after his death. The post-20 normal people who became legends after their deaths appeared first on Back in Time Today.